Hello, let's do the New York Times Medium Sudoku for April 29th, 2024. There's a link in the description if you'd like to try the puzzle yourself using the same software I do. And I'm going to get started right now. All right, so the way that I'm going to solve, the way I solve the mediums is a systematic method where we're looking for one thing at a time. So I'm going to go through this systematic method with you. Feel free to follow along. It might be helpful to follow along with me as I solve, if that's something you're able to do. But I do recommend at least trying this method out to get a handle on what are the most important things to be looking for in our puzzles, and how do we let the puzzles take us on a journey and keep the puzzles exciting day to day. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by looking at bands. So let's talk about some terminology first. We've got rows, we've got columns, we've got boxes, we've got cells. Each of these is a cell. And then we've got a band, which is a row of 3 boxes, and a stack, which is a column of 3 boxes. All right, so we're going to go band by band first. There are 3 bands in the puzzle. We're going to go 1, 2, 3. We're going to go through them one at a time. And there's specific things we're looking for. The very first thing we look for is repeated digits in the band, specifically exactly 2 of the same digit present in the band. So the way we're going to hunt for that is we don't want to miss any. So I'm going to start with the box with the fewest givens in it, and I'm going to compare it against the other 2 boxes. So 1, 5, 6. I'm going to be looking for 1s, 5s, and 6s in both of these boxes. And I do see a 1. So we have 2 1s, and we don't have a 1 over here. So we're going to see how that affects the box they aren't in. Well, there's a couple ways to think about it. One way is, well, this one is in row 1, this one is in row 3. Within a band, we're going to have every digit 3 times, once in each row, because each row can't repeat a digit. And must have every digit. So we're going to end up with a 1 over here in this box because it needs to give it to this row. Another way to think about that is this one takes 1 out of these 3 cells, and this one takes 1 out of these 3 cells. So it's always going to be a single row remaining for that final box, which is the row that these 2 ones are not in. Then we want to inspect that row and see which ones can actually be a 1. So obviously the 7 can't be a 1. It's already a 7. And we have this 1 down here. This is really the only time we're glancing down. We're mostly hyper-focused on bands in our starting pass, but we do want to glance down and see if there's any 1s helping out. So there is that 1 there. So now there's only 1 place left in this box that can be 1. So it must be 1. So I'm going to place this 1 here. All right. Now we continue looking for repeated digits. So there are no 5s or 6s. So now I'm going to take the box with the next least number of digits in it. We can ignore the 1. We already took care of it, right? So 7, 8, and 9. I just have to compare it against this box. So 7, 8, and 9, we have an 8 and a 9 in this box. We take them one at a time. So we have these 2 8s. They look into this box. This 5 is not 8. So 8 is limited to these 2 cells. So I can't place it. But I do want to remember that I limited 8 to these 2 cells. There's no reason to have to try to find that again. So this is where notation comes in. We always want to notate things that we've specifically understood and want to remember. Things that we consider important. If you only notate important things, then notations don't get in the way of your solve. They assist your solve. So in this case, I'm going to use corner marks. This software has center marks and corner marks. You can see how the 8s are in the center for the center marks, and they're in the corner for the corner marks. I'm going to use the corner mark mode and put 8s in both of these cells. And we're going to use corner marks to designate that within a box, we have limited a digit to just the cells that are corner marked. Now we're only going to use corner marks when a digit has been reduced to 3 or fewer locations in the box. Always if it's 2, and if it's 3, only if it's all in the same row or all in the same column. So in this case, these are 2, so we would mark it. But even if it was all 3 of these, we would still mark it. But if it was like these 3, we would not. We would not mark that. That's a confusing shape, and you're going to misscan that, guaranteed. Okay, so now we have the 2 9s. They do the same thing. Similarly, we're going to corner mark 9s over here. And that's it for repeated digits. Now, before we move on to the next band, there are 2 more things I want you to look for. First is a completely filled row. This column is filled. We'll worry about that later when we do stacks. Look for a completely filled row. I don't see any. And then after you look for filled rows, now look for rows or boxes with 4 or fewer open cells in them. So for example, this row has 5 open cells. This row has 5 open cells. This row has 5 open cells. But this box has 5. This box has a bunch. This box has 4 open cells. Specifically 6 in this one, if you want the count. Now, I have found a box with 4 open cells. So what we want to do is we want to think about what are the 4 digits that are remaining. So in this case, it is the 2, the 5, 6, and 7. So 2, 5, 6, 7. And what you want to be doing is you want to be looking around for 2s, 5s, 6s, and 7s to see how that helps out. Now, one thing I am seeing is that we have this 6 and this 7 taking 6 and 7 out of these 2 cells. So where do the 6 and 7 go in this box? Well, the answer is they go here. Right? There's only we know we need the 6 and 7 somewhere in this box. They're down to these 4 cells, but actually they can't. Neither of them can be in these 2 cells, the 6 and the 7. So if we only have 2 cells left for the 6, 7, those are the 2 cells the 6, 7 go in. We can't actually put anything else in there, and that's called a hidden pair. What a hidden pair does is it removes anything else we thought could be in those cells. Specifically in this case, the 2 and the 5. These can't be 2, 5 anymore. And so what does that mean for 2, 5 in the box? It means we have 2 cells left for 2, 5. Basically, it's the remaining cells. So this is a 2, 5 pair, and this is a 6, 7 pair. Normally, I'd follow up a lot on this 6, 7, but we haven't done this stack yet. But we have already done this band. And now we want to think about how this 2, 5 is helping out. So first of all, because it's a horizontal 2, 5 pair, we can kind of think about it as having a 2 and a 5 kind of placed already. We don't know where they'll end up, but they'll be in one of these 2. So for example, this 5 now has a buddy with this 2, 5 pair. And that puts a 5 down here somewhere. Whether the 5 was here or here, the effect would have been the same of taking 5 out of these cells, and the 5 ends up down here. The 2 does not have a buddy though. So we can't do anything with that. But now we can think about this row as having only 3 open cells, because the 2 and 5 are accounted for. So the digits that are not accounted for are the 3, 4, and 9. Now we know this cell can't be 4. So this is down to 3, and it can't be 9, right? It sees the 4 and the 9. So this cell can only be a 3. So that is a naked single. We call it naked because we just inspected what this cell could be, and it was down to only 1 digit. So it nakedly is a single. Sorry, I remember the wrong digit. It is a single 3, right? Yeah. Because it can't be 1. It can't be 2, because the 2 is going to be somewhere in this 2, 5. It can't be 4. It can't be 5, because the 5 is somewhere in this 2, 5. It can't be 6, 7, 8, or 9. So if it can't be any of those, it must be a 3. And then that leaves over here the 4 and the 9. And this 4 tells us this can't be the 4. So this is the 9, and this is the 4. So we finish the row. That's why we look at rows that are down to 4 or fewer. You can see rows and boxes down to 4 or fewer. We found a lot in this band that we didn't realize just from our first initial kind of naive scan of it. And now we still have more to look at, right? So first of all, we place some digits. Do we have buddies? Well, we have 3 9s in here. The 4 does have a buddy. And so that joins and in fact, the 4 is placed in this box. So this 4 looks in, this 4 looks in. We did have the buddy, but we didn't really need it. That places this 4. Which now, that used up one of the spots that we had a 5 corner marked. And so that means the remaining spot, there's only 1 spot left that has a 5 corner marked. So that means we found a hidden single 5. This is the only place for 5 in the box based on our corner marks. And now there's only 2 digits left in this box. Definitely worth thinking about. We need the 2 and we need a 6. Now, we know that these are down to 2, 6, so I'm going to center mark that. And in general, what I've been using center marks for, I don't think I explained this when I did it here, is I'm using center marks to denote that specific cell is down to only those values. And I only ever center mark if it's 3 or fewer, ideally. Sometimes I'll do more if I get desperate. But generally, rule of thumb, 3 or fewer. And so this cell in the final solution will only be a 2 or a 6. We just have to, if you overlaid the solution here, this cell here, guaranteed is a 2 or a 6. I don't know which one, but it's one of those 2. It can't be anything else. Same thing here. Now, this is actually a naked pair. Naked meaning we're just looking at the center marks, right? Pair meaning that these are both down to the same 2 digits. So first of all, we can't put 2 2s here. We can't put 2 6s here, right? We can't repeat the digits. So these will be 2 different digits. So what two different digits will these be? Well, one of them will be a 2, one of them will be a 6. It's the only choice, right? There are no other choices of digits that can go in these cells without conflicting with Sudoku rules or anything else we found. Logic. So this is a 2-6 pair, meaning that the 6 is going to be here or it's going to be here. The 2 is going to be here or it's going to be here. No matter where that ends up, we're not getting any more 2s and 6s in this row. So specifically, this cell cannot be a 6. Think about it this way. If this cell was a 6, these would both be 2. Or this would be 2 and this would be nothing. Either way, we've broken the puzzle. So this has to be a 7. It's the only other choice. And that makes this a 6. It resolves the pairs, the way I'd put that. That leaves a pair behind in this row here. So let's think about that. So for the row, we've got 1, 2. We need a 3, and then we know the other one's the 8 because it's corner marked. But so this is a 3-8 pair. It's the 2 digits missing from the row. It's not resolved. And then this is also a pair for the row or the box. Pick one. It's going to be the 2. So the 2 can't go here. So the 2 is placed here. And then the other digit's also placed. It's a 7. And so look, we've really only scanned this one band, but based on the 3 things we looked for, we actually managed to almost resolve the entire thing. And we're only down to horizontal pairs, which means we don't really have to revisit this band again, because those pairs will get resolved vertically. They cannot resolve themselves horizontally. All right, well, this band is clearly, we've gotten everything we can out of it. So we're going to move on to this band now. Now, you're not always so lucky, but that band got a lot. All right, so first thing, we look for repeated digits. This 4 is not repeated. 2 and 6, not repeated. So definitely less lucky than up there. The next thing we look for are filled rows. None of those. And the final thing we look for is rows or boxes down to 4 or fewer. None of those. So we found nothing from that. So we're going to move on. I expect the stacks will get us the rest of the puzzle. But we're going to continue with the bands. We don't want to miss anything. So I'm looking at this 4, 7. The 4 does have a buddy. We also have these 2 4s looking down. So there's only one place in this box for 4, so we can place it. The 7, we have these 2 7s looking in. Unfortunately, no 7 up here helping. So we're just going to corner mark 7s over here. Then we just have to compare we have 4 we took care of. The 9, there's no buddy 9. Any filled rows? No. Any rows or boxes down to 4 or fewer? No, I don't see any. Okay, so now we finished with the bands. We did band 1, band 2, and band 3. Band 1 was much more fruitful than the other 2. You never know what's going to be fruitful. Now we're going to look at the stacks. We're going to do the same exact thing. So we've got the 4 and the 7 here. 7s are already done. 4s are not, though. These 4s look in. This 4 looks in, so we can place this 4. Now, at this point, if something's triggering in you saying, hey, we've just placed a bunch of 4s, can we finish them? The answer is yes. We have 8 out of our 9 4s. So we can just place that final 4 here, and 4s are done. But the other thing you could have done is followed up on the 4s, and you should. When you place a digit in a location where you've already moved on from a scan, you need to redo the scan centered on that digit you just got. So we would redo these 4s. They would look in, this 4 would look down, and that would place this 4. We'd also look to see if that 4 did anything like, did it make any row or box down to 4 or fewer digits? And the answer is yes, it did. It made this down to 4. But I'm going to hold off on that because we have more scanning to do in this stack. And the stack's also going to see that this box is down to 4. So I would rather just finish the normal stack scanning and do that box when we get there. So that was the 4 and the 7. Now we compare these two against each other. So the 1, 3, and 8 are the new digits. So the 1 has a buddy. This one looks in, puts a 1 in one of these two. The 3 also has a buddy. This 3 looks in, puts it in one of these two. And the 8 does have a buddy. And that places the 8 in this box because it's not 4 or 7. Placing this 8, we want to follow up. Are there any other buddy 8s over here? No, there's not. Did it fill up a row? No, it didn't. Did it reduce a row or a box down to 4 or fewer? No, it didn't. Okay, so that finishes our buddy scan. Now we want to look for filled columns, and we have a few of those. Now we only care about filled columns where the box that we filled, that it's in, isn't basically done. This box is basically done. We already know about basically where all the digits go in this box. So I'm mostly interested in this filled column. So let's do this one. So we're going to look at that column. Now what we do is we look at the other boxes and we look at the columns that it's not, right? We look at the column that isn't filled. And then we don't care about empty cells, right? And we don't care about digits that are already in the box. So 8 and 4 are already in the box and 7 is already in the box. So there's 3, 1, and 9 are the interesting digits. 3, 1, and 9. So let's start with this, the 1. What does it do? Notice how this 1 is taking 1 out of all 3 of these, and it's also not in these. But we already marked the 1, so that's not really something to look at. The 9, though, the 9 looks down here. This 9 looks in, so 9's in one of these two. Now this is going to do something called pointing. There's 2 ways you can think about this. I'll tell you both ways. This is going to do pointing. And what pointing is when we get a digit restricted in a box where all of the cells left in the box that can be that digit are all in the same row or column. In this case, these two share a column, which means that this box is going to get a 9 and it's going to be here or here. That's going to be the 9 for this column, which means this cell here, in fact, none of these, right, can be 9. Specifically, I care about this cell, though. This cell cannot be a 9. If this cell were a 9, there'd be nowhere to put 9 in this box. These point. It's called pointing because you can kind of draw a line between these two cells that are the only cells left that can be 9 in the box. And that line tells you that the rest of that, along that rest of that line, you can't have that digit. So this cell's not 9. This 9 looks down, and that's going to put a 9 in one of these two. Another way to think about that is because this is filled, there's kind of a virtual 9 buddy up here. So you can think of it as if there was a 9 here, removing 9 from these 3 along with this 9. So the 9 buddy is actually, it is true. It's always going to be true when you have this filled. There's going to be a 9 buddy in the other box in that column, which means the 9's over here. So you can think about it that way too if you want. We'll think about it that way for this 3. But we already have the 3's marked, so actually it doesn't really matter. But we actually do have a buddy for the 3, so it's not even virtual. But we would look up here for a 3 buddy, and we found it, right? If we didn't find it, it means it is still up here, though. Okay, so that's the 3, the 1, and the 9. That's why we look for the filled columns. Now we're going to look for columns and boxes with 4 or fewer open cells. We start with the one that's the least. So this column is down to 3. And what are they? It's the 2, 6, and 9 that are missing. We're going to center mark that, 2, 6, 9. This 2 takes 2 out of here. This 6 takes 6 out of here. Always want to look around, especially if you don't have the red digits, but you always want to look just in case you have pointing or something that you forgot about. Now, that's this column. How about the rest of this box? Remember that the 9s are corner marked here, meaning these can't be 9. So there's only 3 digits left. It's the 2, 5, and 6. So I'm just going to put 2, 5, 6 here. Okay. This column also down to 4 digits, 2, 3, 5, 6. We're going to look for any that are down to 3 or fewer. This can't be 3, so this is 2, 5, 6. Both of these can be 2, 3, 5, 6. They don't see any of 2, 3, 5, 6 anywhere. So we're not going to fill those. Okay. And that's it for that stack. That's what we got out of it. Pretty good. Now we're going to look at this stack here. Any buddies for the 4? No, 4s are done. 4s are just generally done in the puzzle, actually. We got the 1, 3, and 7. They all have buddies. So we have these 2 1s looking down. This one looks in. We're going to get a lot of buddies vertically because we almost finished this whole band. We have the 2 3s looking down. This 3 looks in. And then we have the 7s looking in. And this 7 looks in. We can place the 7. We placed a digit. What do? We follow up. First look for buddies. There's a buddy 7. So there's a 7 in one of these 2 cells. Next thing, did we fill up a row? We did not. Did we fill up a row enough or a box enough that it's now down to 4 or fewer? No, we did not. Okay, so that's the follow-up. Remember, we only need to follow up on things we already looked for. If there's something we're going to look for in the future, you'll find that in the future for the thing that you're supposed to look for anyway. So there's not a need to follow up on it. And if bouncing around like that will make you forget the important things to look for, then I definitely recommend not bouncing around. All right. Once you get more experienced, bouncing around will become more intuitive. Okay. So that was it for buddies in this stack. We got the 1, 3, and 7 taken care of. So now we look for filled columns. We don't have any. And we look for columns or boxes down to 4 or fewer. This column is down to 4. So what are the 4 digits? We need the 2, 5, 6, 8. Well, I know this one's not an 8, so this is 2, 5, 6. It's also not a 2. Didn't see that. Down here, 2, 5, 6, 8. This one's not an 8, so it's 2, 5, 6. So notice none of these were 8. Or we have a 2, 5, 6 triple, whichever one you want to deal with. But basically, where's 8 in this column? The answer is only here. And that's why we look. We find all sorts of nice things when we look at rows, columns, boxes down to 4 or fewer. Now that this 8 is placed, we got to follow up. It's got a buddy. No 8s up here to buddy with, though, so 8's in one of these 3. We just corner mark that. And now did this 8, did it fill up a row in a box? No, it did not. Did it restrict a row or a box down to 4 or fewer? The row, no, but the box, yes. So we might as well look at this box now because we're already looking at the stack in this mode anyway. Oh, by the way, we do need to follow up on the buddy 8 here as well because we did not find that through buddies. So we have all these 8s looking in. That puts an 8 in one of these too. Important follow-up. But we're also going to follow up with this box. It's down to 2, 5, 6, 9. So we know this one's not 9. So this is down to 2, 5, 6. And so that means the 9 in this box, we've noticed, is down to these 2 cells here. We can corner mark that, and that's going to point up. This 9 looks down, so that means 9's over here somewhere. 2, 5, 6, 9. I don't think they're worth marking, though, with center marks, because there's no 2, 5, 6, or 9 looking at those cells. Okay. That was fruitful. No other columns or boxes down to 4 or fewer. So I think it's time to move on to the final stack. 4s are done. You can ignore those. We do have the 2 9s here. So 9 ends up over here somewhere. We don't know a whole lot about 9s in this band, unfortunately. And then we also have the 2 and the 6 here. So I've got the doubled up 2s. And the 6s are going to do the same thing, right? So 2s and 6s end up down here. It's pretty busy, but that's just the way it goes. All right, now this any filled columns, yes, up here, but we're not too worried about that because we don't learn anything new about this box by doing that. No other filled columns, so we're just going to skip right to this column is down to 3 digits. So what are the 3 digits? They are the 1, 3, and 8. This one can't be 1, so this is down to 3, 8. And so now this is down to, this can't be 3, this is 1, 8, and this is 1, 3, can't be 8. Now, one thing I notice is that in this column, because of this triple, we notice that this one wasn't 1. So that means that 1 is restricted to one of these 2 cells in the column. And that's called claiming. Claiming is one of the hardest things to see for these puzzles, but it's also usually very important to find if you can. So this column, 1 has been restricted to these 2 cells. Both of those cells happen to both be in the same box, box 9. So it's going to claim the 1 from the rest of that box. We cannot put a 1 in any of these cells, even ignoring this. We can't put a 1 in any of these cells because if we did, there would be nowhere to put 1 in this column, and that would be bad. The column needs a 1, it claims it from the box. So we can actually legitimately corner mark 1s here. And that is true for the box. Even though we found it for the column, it's true for the box. So importantly, that means that 1 is not here and 1 is not here. So in this box, 1 is in one of these 2. And actually, it's not even here. So in this box, 1 is limited to just this cell. We can place it. That removes this corner mark 1, follow up horizontally, right? That places this 1 as a hidden single. That removed a 3 corner mark. That places this 3 as a hidden single. This 3 removes 3 from this cell. It was down to 3, 8. Now it's only 8, naked single 8. Let's finish this triple. It resolves the whole triple. That makes this a 1 and this a 3 through naked singles. We got a lot to follow up on. Let's make sure we do it. This can't be 8 anymore. That places this hidden 8. There are still 2 places for 9 though, so we can't place the 9. Over here, we have this 1 removed, so there's only 1 place for 1. We also had this 3 removed. There's only 1 place for 3. 1s and 3s are done down here. 8s are done up here. So we don't need to follow up too much on those. But we may want to recheck the bands just in general and recheck the stack just in general. So really just take your pick. I'm going to do this band. I feel like just my instinct tells me this band has a lot more to give. So for example, this row is now down to 3 digits. What are the 3 digits? They are the 2, 5, and 9. So I'm just going to center mark that, and we see that this one can't be a 2 because there's a 2 in the box. Okay, next I'm going to look at this box here. It is down to 3, 5, 7, 9. This 3 and this 3, actually we could have seen the buddy 3. I don't know when that happened. But that does place the 3 as a hidden single in this box. Now this 3 filled up, this 3 actually finishes this 3 and 8 up here. I told you we'd vertically finish that. That 8 comes back down, removing this corner mark 8. There's a lot of corner marks here. We just want to double check, but there is only 1 place left for 8. So we can place that 8 there. 8s are actually done now. We have all of our 8s. I'm going to finish up this box. We needed 5, 7, 9. So this is 5, 7. In fact, this whole column is 5, 7. And I think this is any of 5, 7, 9. Okay. This row is down to 5, 6, 9. So we'll just pencil that. This cell can be 2. I was thinking maybe it couldn't be 2, but it can be. I was hoping it couldn't be 2 because then it would place the 2 in the box, but it can be. This is down to 2, 5, 6, 9. It's any of them. So we're still not going to mark that. But we still have things to follow up on. Let's just make sure that all the 3s here are done, all the 4s here are done. The 2, unfortunately, there isn't much follow-up on that. I think we got everything we needed out of this band. I don't think there's more to find right now. I'm just double checking that there isn't anything obvious. Okay, I think we're good to, let's think about this band now and the consequences of the stuff we placed. The 1s and the 3s and the 8s are all done in the band. The 4s, the 9s, okay. So I'm going to think about, this box is still 2, 5, 6, 9. Yeah, I'm going to think about this row, which should also be 2, 5, 6, 9. This can't be 9, so this is down to 2, 5, 6. In fact, this whole row is down to 2, 5, 6. This row here. It's very suspicious, but it doesn't seem to do anything right now. We've got a lot of these 2, 5, 6 triples, or tri-value cells, I should say. It's interesting. And then we got these 2 6s up here. Very interesting. 2, 5, 6, 9. All right, so something's got to give here. So I did miss something. I had these 9s corner marked here, and I still penciled marked as 9 here. I should not have. That should not have been a 9. Okay. This whole column is down to 2, 5, 9, actually. So we can fill that. I don't know why I thought 6 was still possible. I missed that we had that 6 placed. Probably for a while now. So that means 6 is in one of these 2 cells, for what it's worth. All right, we have a lot of markings. Okay, have we finished? We finished our initial scan. Normally I would go box by box looking for things, but honestly we have most of the boxes taken care of. Basically at this point, it's a matter of center marking appropriate cells that you may not have center marked yet. You're looking for rows, columns, boxes down to 4 or fewer. You target those if possible. Or really just target cells that look like they might be restricted, see what is possible in them, and see if you can form any kinds of pairs or triples or hidden singles, naked singles, things like that. And you're just on the lookout for that. Sometimes finishing up a puzzle like this is just about finding the right 2 or 3 cells to look at, or even a single cell. But sometimes things can clue you into which ones to look at. So these are down to 2, 5, 6, 9. Is there really nothing restricting that? As far as I can tell, there is not. This cell is down to 2, 5, 6, 7. And it can be any of those as well. This cell's down to 2, 5, 6, 9. So I am clearly just not seeing something important here. I'm looking for it. Give me a moment. I'm really just scanning the center marks that we already have. Trying to find something. A little sticky here at the end. Give me a moment. I'm sure I'll find it soon. So okay, I'm going to go row by row. These rows we already took care of. We've got a 2, 5, 9 here. This row is pretty open. Maybe there's something about it that I didn't understand because I haven't paid much attention to it. So we do need the 2, 5, 6, 7, 9. That's a lot of digits. 2, 5, 6, 7, 9. We know the 7's over here. Unfortunately, the 2 can be here. Okay, I'm not seeing anything with that. This one's down to 5, 6, 9. I'm also rechecking all my corner marks just to make sure that I'm respecting them. Like this shouldn't have been 9 earlier. We're making sure we're respecting all that. This row is down to 2, 5, 6, 9. Not seeing anything with that. This row is down to 2, 5, 6, 7, 9. The 7 we know is over here. Yeah, and this is 2, 5, 6. Okay, vertically we've got 2, 5, 6. We've got 2, 6, 9. We've got 2, 5, 6, 9. We got 2, 5, 6. We got 2, 5, 9. I'm looking at how the 9 is down there, but we already took care of that. We got 2, 5, 6, 9. We're looking at how the 9's up here. We took care of that. This is a 5, 7 pair. And then we've got 2, 5, 6, 7, 9. I really don't see anything. This one's not 9. Yeah, we know that. It's 2, 5, 6, 7. It appears that I've respected my corner marks. Wow. Puzzle's hanging on. What do we do here? I took a careful look at every row and column. Let's take a look at every box just to make sure I didn't miss anything with boxes. I don't think, I mean, I've been scanning them, so I don't really think that that's the case. I am going to just pencil the rest of the puzzle. There's only 3 cells not penciled. These are 2, 5, 6, 9, and this is 2, 5, 6, 9. So, I mean, I don't think that's helpful, but this cell also is 2, 5, 6, 7. So we know 9s are limited here. They're limited here, here, and here. Sometimes going through every digit can be helpful. The 1s, 3s, 4s, and 8s are done. So we just have 2, 5, 6, 7, 9 to finish, which is what all these cells have ended up being, right? I'm looking at where 2s can go. I'm not seeing anything special about 2s. They are here, but we have that marked. How about the 5s? There we go. 5 in this box is limited to these 2 cells here. So we can corner mark that. And that points, removing 5 from the rest of the row. And look what that does. That gives us the 7, the 9, and the 5. That places the 9 here. And this is just going to resolve everything. That's 6, that's 5. We get the 2 and the 6 here, the 2 and the 5 here. That's 2 and 6. We get our 9 here. These are not 6s. These are not 6s. All right, down here we can finish this 5. That's helpful. None of these are 5. We don't need the corner marks because we have the triple there. This is a 2. That finishes the 2, 6, and 7. This is 6, 5, 9, and 5. We get the 2, 9, 6, and 5. That's 2 and 5, and that's it. All right, so just one little thing of pointing 5s in this box that I just ignored the entire time until I specifically looked at each digit. Kind of a last resort for me, just because looking at each digit can be a little time consuming. But with how few cells there were left in the grid, maybe I should have looked at that sooner. But yeah, I was looking for anything, and I when I looked at this box, I missed that several times that 5 was limited to these 2 in the box because we had a 5 looking down into the box. So yeah, cool. That was all I was missing. These pointing 5s here. That finished the entire puzzle. So sorry about that long delay at the end of the puzzle there. I try not to do that. I try to make these walkthroughs, but they are also live solves. So maybe seeing my strategy of what I look for when I do get stuck can help you if you get stuck as well. So I don't mind that too much. But I hope it wasn't frustrating. I hope you enjoyed this. And if you did, then why not leave a like, subscribe, and a kind comment below.